Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Got a couple topics to discuss today. I think I will start off with Earl because I think that's what most of you want to hear, and I don't want to make you watch bullshit that you don't want to listen to. Earl's court appearance was continued. He showed up, his attorney showed up, and his attorney requested a continuance for the motion hearing. And the judge granted it, so the motion hearing, the motion in limine hearing, is going to be on August 6th, I believe. So it is pushed out a bit, and I will obviously update you when we get close to that time again. Some people were asking me what a motion in limine was. It is an odd word that you don't hear really in outside of legal circles. A motion in limine is a motion that one party will do before a hearing, before a trial, in order to exclude various bits of evidence that are, maybe they're more prejudicial than probative, maybe there is some exclusionary rule that applies, maybe there's an evidentiary rule that applies, maybe there's a privilege or some other circumstance that applies, but it is a motion to the judge to exclude that particular bit of evidence before it gets in front of a jury. The operative thought there is that once you have the jury impaneled and taking or hearing testimony, they can't unhear evidence. They can't unhear testimony. As much as the movies like to show the judge telling the jury to ignore a specific point or to ignore what the person on the stand said, you want to avoid that because humans are humans and you can't unhear what you've heard. So it just prevents the other side from introducing testimony or evidence that shouldn't be introduced before they introduce it. It's a prophylactic. So that's all about Earl. The next topic is one that I am exceedingly happy. The chop, the Chaz, whatever you want to call it, has finally come down, and it illustrates a point that I have made very nicely. We need the police. We absolutely 100% positively need the police. Is there room for reform, for changes? Sure. I'm not entirely sure of exactly what reform we need. One reform that I heard that I actually kind of like was, for states or cities to disallow police unions. Whether or not that's feasible, I don't know. But it would be lovely if we allowed cities and states to actually fire bad cops who haven't exceeded the law, haven't broken the law, haven't committed a crime, but who are still violating people's rights or who are acting unprofessionally, etc. Right now we have unions protecting them, or at least unions are prevalent, and maybe if we got rid of unions, that would help. That's a thought that I've heard. But anyway, I'm digressing at this point. The point is that the CHOP or the Chaz illustrated that we need police. Police are there to enforce the existing laws, and they do protect people. I know that we've gone over it. There is no legal duty for a cop to protect you, but there is a duty for the police in general to protect the public in general. There are two lawsuits that I have heard of so far coming out of this Chop Chaz situation. One is where the local business owners and residents are suing the city because the city failed to protect them. In general, as a group, the city failed the residents of the Capitol Hill area. They failed to provide them with the police protection that these people paid for, which denied them access to emergency services. It denied them access to the roads. It denied them access to all sorts of wonderful things that these people are paying taxes for. and that they've essentially contracted with the government of Seattle to they pay the government for them, and in return they expect to receive the services. I don't believe it's as simple as a contract dispute, but you get the point. That lawsuit, I think, has merit, because while the police don't have a duty to protect an individual person, like if you get mugged, you can't sue the police because they failed to prevent the mugging. But on the other hand, you can, as a group, bring action against the government if they have made a decision to not provide services at all. Or at least that's my legal theory. Your minds may vary, but I believe that to be the case. The other lawsuit that I've heard of, I don't know if it has been filed yet, but the victim is asking for it. He was shot 5 times, and he wants to sue Seattle because he got shot. And I don't think that he has a case. I don't think he can sue the police for failing to protect him. I know it's a slight distinction, but he's suing because he got shot. These other people are suing because services generally were denied to their area. There is a fundamental distinction between those two. The guy who got shot is essentially the person who was mugged and then wants to sue the police because he got mugged. And of course, the reason why he wants to sue the police and not the person who shot him is because the police have money and the guy who shot him probably does not. It is a fundamental thing that clients forget over, and I've seen attorneys forget this over and over again. Generally, in a tort cause of action, you need duty. That duty has to be breached. That breach of duty has to be the proximate cause for whatever damages, and there have to be damages. And in order to pursue that, you want to make sure that the person who owes you those damages can afford to pay you, or else you're just throwing money away on a lawsuit that isn't going anywhere. If they don't have money and you're not going to get a recovery, there is no point in filing the lawsuit. But it is very interesting that my predictions that the Chaz and the Chop would turn into essentially a Mogadishu, that it would be lawless and violent, and there would from that spring gangs and warlords and like clockwork. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm prescient. I'm not saying that I know things that other people don't know, because every other intelligent non-Kool-Aid drinker out there was saying exactly the same thing. There is no real such thing as a power vacuum. There's always going to be a strongest individual. The only thing that beats the strongest individual is a group. The only thing that beats a group is a stronger group. You end up with the strongest group. Be it biggest, whatever, they're the people who are going to be in charge. And luckily, we have... When was the Magna Carta signed? In like 1,000 or 1,100? We have, I'm going to say 900 years of Western law, of English and American law and legislation that have given us a fairly stable system. I mean, we don't see large scale violence like what was going on in the Chop the Chaz, because we have police, and those police are accountable. Everybody seems to forget that the cop who knelt on George Floyd's neck was immediately fired soon after he was charged. The other cops with him were immediately fired soon after they were charged. They're going to go to trial. They're probably going to be convicted unless they get overcharged. And I think they're working on overcharging them. But my point is that we have a relatively stable, relatively solid, a good system. It has flaws, sure. There is no perfect system, but it sure beats the shit out of lawlessness and anarchy and chaos. And, you know, despite everybody in the Chop and the Chaz having guns, people died, people got shot, people got robbed, raped, all sorts of bad things happened to them. I mean, the stories that are coming out of that zone are pretty horrifying, that they would be happening in the U.S. So we need the police. We need law and order. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.